Let's bring in Nkosinathi Mahlangu, Portfolio Head of Youth Employment at Momentum Metropolitan. Nkosinathi, thank you very much for joining us this evening. And let's start with the decrease that we've seen over the last 2 quarters and the sectors that benefited the most in terms of being able to create employment in the current times.
Thank you very much, Rafiwa. It was quite encouraging to see the numbers somewhat increasing in as far as employment opportunities are concerned. And however, when we're taking a closer look at this as Momentum Metropolitan, we also realize that most of these employment opportunities are of a part-time basis or fixed-term contract type of work. And looking at the sectors that have played a key role in increasing the number in as far as employment is concerned, we're looking at the business services, we're looking at the trade, and to an extent the mining space as well. And when we also look at the period where the measurement was taken, we also are aware that Q4 2022, that's where most of the spending, most of the economic wheels are turning in as far as, people wanting to spend in the economy, people wanting to, access certain services. Hence, we've seen a spike in employment figures.
Those are important components that you bring up there. The increased spending in the fourth quarter of 2022 and the ability for companies or businesses to hire on a fixed term or contract basis. So I suppose with that in mind, the first and second quarter of 2023 are going to be quite important to consider because we might start to see a reversal in that trend. I think we might start to see the long-term effects of the power cuts and inflationary pressures start to seep into incoming data.
That's definitely true. I mean, these are the ripple effects of what's happening currently within the economic cycle and what the country is currently, challenged with in as far as the lack of energy or electricity as it may. And when we're looking at Q1 2023, it is also with keen interest to see which sectors will emerge the ones to, to attract some form of employment or employment opportunities, and also looking at how the Q4 2022 sectors that performed well towards the end of the year, and how are they now, performing, moving on into Q1 2023, and looking at how, the effects of COVID-19 have, taken us a couple of steps back in as far as, economic activity is concerned. This is also another moving target that we're aiming towards as South Africans, because unemployment, cuts across, all the age spectrums. When we're sitting at a 61% youth unemployment rate, and we're also looking at an overall unemployment rate where people have lost their jobs in the past 2 years due to COVID-19, and most of those jobs haven't been recovered, and now we're finding ourselves with this big conundrum.
Yeah, and you bring up such an important point there, Nkosinathi, which is what I wanted us to touch on next. 61% of the country's youth currently unemployed. Government says it all the time that private sector needs to come on board and assist with the high levels of unemployment. When it comes to the youth in particular, we do have programs like the YES program by government and different others. But what kind of incentives should be put out there so that the private sector can play its part in hiring youth in particular?
It's been quite exciting to monitor the movements and activities within the youth employment space. And what we also have done as Momentum Metropolitan was to also look in terms of where are the scarce skills, where are the skills gaps are found in the economy, whereby programs such as YES, as you have alluded to, they are making a big difference in making sure that young people are placed in, in those job opportunities. And what we have realized is that apart from the youth unemployment crisis that we're sitting at, we're also facing a unemployability crisis, whereby young people are currently not employable, and this now plays a very big role in as far as placing them in roles that will give them time to adapt, adjust, acquire the necessary skills and also the necessary experience, as we believe that if programs can also incorporate workplace experience, and this is a role where corporate can play a very meaningful role, this can also see young people being equipped to be much more employable and also sustain those jobs that they get.
Yeah, and I suppose that goes hand in hand with the skills audit, which was spoken about a little earlier on in the national budget speech. That is something that government is going to need to fast track, I suppose, in partnership with the private sector.
That's definitely true. It was, exciting to hear Minister Kodongwane mention that there will be a skills audit, because what we have seen in various sectors that as South African, we import a lot of skills, and only to find out those skills could be found, within the country. So once we do that skills audit, which I hope it will happen sooner rather than later, it will give us a stance to look at now where do we, put our efforts, and collectively so, in forming those meaningful private-public partnerships whereby corporates such as us, Momentum Metropolitan, will also, steer our programs, our youth empowerment programs, into areas where we know that certain skill set will also be imparted to young people that will also, pave the way on their journey towards employability and ultimate employment. And on the other hand, as well, we also need to look at what role can we play in fast-tracking the development of young entrepreneurs, because our economy, as it stands currently, we need, small enterprises, youth-owned businesses to be supported in such a way that they could potentially become the next job creator. But such would only happen if there is a plan that is executable, and also being aware that this is a race against time.
Nkosinathi Mahlangu, thank you very much for your time.